as we had just discussed, that 1994 was the injury. So you don't look at it as a breakdown. So what? But we have seen that you have taken it as a breakthrough. What exactly that particular thing teached? Like so many things were there. So how did that shift so many things in your area after that England win? Things change, but what things change around you? There is nothing changed in you. You are the same. Your routine is the same. But how have you observed that such kind of breakthroughs have changed things like people, or maybe we can say that the way world treated you? Like, have you seen the change in that?
After 2001?
Yeah. ऑल इंग्लैंड विन के बाद में जो चेंज आपने देखा?
Of course, I think All England is huge for us as a country. If you're an All England champion in China or something, they don't bother too much. They have many of them. Even an Olympic medalist, they don't bother. But in India, if you're an All England champion, if you're an Olympic medalist, there's no better country in the world to be a champion than in India. They treat you. So this is the reality of sport. People won't bother to give you anything before, but after it, I think till today I keep enjoying the benefits.
Yes, but after that also you did not stop. Your discipline, your routine, your things were as they were before. Many winners are there who stop at one point, they get slowed, but your pace was going up. And there is one point that people, like his partner who shared the room with him, he used to shift in another room because he do not allow a person to switch on the fan also. What was that story?
No, I think I'm allergic sometimes.
And the sinus story also we can include in it. Like most of the time, parents don't understand what is happening with the kid, why they are not performing. And same thing had happened to you. You had that particular thing, and you came to know it later, and then you have changed few things again.
I think for me, I had challenges with my health. I didn't know it when I was young. So a national in India, what happened at that time was we used to have district, state, and few tournaments, and we used to have one nationals. The first nationals, this was 1987, happened in Chennai. It is a coastal place, and suddenly the coast and the humidity and the air just hit me, and I had sinus. And I was very bad. I lost my matches because when you go on court, you can't breathe properly, and your heart is thumping, and you lost the match. And then for a year, you realize that nobody supports you because they say state champion hai, national level pe kuch zyada nahi hai. And then I go to the next nationals, and this nationals was in Calcutta. And then again the same story, because again you're on the coast, and the air is heavy. And then you sleep under a fan, and then it hits you. So I didn't understand, though many of us thought, even including me, that it is the tension of actually having to leave the sport if I lost at the nationals. But in reality, it was that I had a problem of allergic sinusitis, which was triggered by the coastal weather. And luckily later on I found it out. Until now, in the morning we were there, and I was saying, don't put the fan on me, because I immediately catch cold. So I think I'm extremely careful. I would always sleep on the floor. I would have no air condition, no fan. So a nightmare to have me as a room partner. And I'm so happy that Lakshmi doesn't complain too much about it. Because the moment she's sleeping, I'm switching it off. And the moment I'm sleeping, she's putting it on. So, but that's the way it is. But back in the day, I was a tough guy to actually share the room with because of these conditions. But I think sport requires such drastic measures, and I did what I can to play.
And you actually always maintain a balance of result-driven ecosystem, which is actually what I can say, embody both bhakti and karma. How you have inclined towards it? Your mother was into that side. Plus, for the badminton, most of the people who wrote or listen his biography may know that his aunt was a national champion, and that was something which encouraged the parents also and you also. But what about the ecosystem that you made result driven, including bhakti and karma concept? What was that?
I think today when you speak of all these things, uh, they're all in retrospect. I think at that point of time, it was you love what you do. You call it discipline, I call it love. You call it sacrifice, I call it that's the only way I know. So I think when you actually love something, when you're passionate about something, then discipline and sacrifice are not the words which come. It is about you loving doing what you feel like and actually thinking it was of great a sense of gratitude for having a life blessed to do what you're doing. So when I looked at, say for example, I would end up at the academy at 4 o'clock in the morning, and people say, "Boss, how can you do that? So much of discipline." But it never felt that way. But if you ask me to go to a party at 9 o'clock in the evening, that feels like sacrifice for me. If you want me to go on a holiday, that feels like sacrifice for me. Going to the badminton court is something which I love doing. It's never been work. So I always thank God and I say, boss, जो भी है, I get a life to live where I'm wearing shorts and going to work. What better life can anybody have? And it's such an honor and a pleasure to actually get this as a blessing from you. So I always feel that way, and I hope that this continues for the longest period of time.
So, as a student, you loved that and you were into it. Now you are a coach. From your student days,
I love coaching as much, and I get to play still on court. So I think it's a blessing which I continue to have.
as a coach, you actually created champions. Shaina, Sindhu, Shrikant, we have Arundhati, Arun. They all are different. Like this question I'm asking in behalf of coaches also. Every student is different. So, what's your process in understanding and shaping a champion without forcing them into a one size fit all mold sort of? They are not one size fit, and you have different strategies for everybody. So we would request if you can just shed light on this particular point and also give a small story also behind that, because nowadays students have students have Saina, Sindhu to look into them as idol for them. During your time, it is clearly mentioned when you have started. Prakash sir was also like, he was also out of the court at that time. So all this thing, including you as a student nowadays, and what exactly an approach should be there with the coaches.
I think it's the life of a sports person is very, very good, because it's not because of the money you get or the recognition or the fame. It is because of the focus which it gives in your life. You want to pick something up to eat. You as an athlete are thinking, is it good for me or not? You're going out somewhere, somebody asks you, can we go out somewhere? It's against one simple question. Is it good for me or not? This approach all your life makes it very simple for you to decide anything in your life. Go out, eat, party, function, everything is against one question. Is it good for me or not? Is it good for my game or not? But then this becomes a problem when you become a coach, because it's still about you. But at some point, if you're able to shift the mirror on the other side and say, whatever is good for the student I will do. If that approach comes up, then this whole question is answered in an instant. And this problem is solved forever. So when people say, what is your style? You're not saying this is my style and the player has to adapt. No, I don't have a style of my own. Whatever is needed for the player, I will do. And that is all the style have. If it is shouting, if it is saying it softly, if it is luring them with a reward or punishing them, I think it doesn't matter. Whatever works is what I will follow. So the mirror, which was always towards you, needs to reflect on the other side, and that is the simple answer. It happens instantaneously when you understand it. For many of us, this switch doesn't happen. We as performers are driven and getting results because of one formula: me and me and me. And that to shift to the other side becomes a very big challenge. But the moment you shift the mirror, the same energy translates and we can actually become the best.
Just a flip question on that. If you could go back in time and whisper one line to a 16-year-old Gopi holding a racket for the first time, I'm again saying you were the 6-year-old at that time. So, holding a racket for the first time in 16, if you imagine, what would you say?
The only thing which I would have said to myself is, don't be so harsh on yourself. It's not worth it. Don't cry after losing so much. It's not worth it. And things would have happened. I could have had the same journey forgiving myself easily. And I've cried after all my matches. I felt very, very bitter. It was important to learn from those matches, but it was not necessary to cry after those matches. So I would have told that young Gopi, it's okay. It's okay to lose, not to worry too much.
So, what was the most emotionally challenging moment for you? Like, not as a player, maybe, but as a mentor who watches dreams being broken before, like, so many challenges, and they then rise again.
I think the very nature of sport is very challenging. Out of all these kids who are here, everybody is aspiring to be a champion, right? If all these kids were in a math class and you had a teacher who was decently good and had unlimited time, everybody would actually get 100%, right? But even with the best of teacher and the best of facilities, if you have a competition, not all of them are going to win. That's the reality of sport. So for me, when I look at kids losing, but still giving all the effort which they have, and they're branded as losers by parents and coaches and society, that is what bothers me. Because inherently, the very nature of sport is such that everybody cannot be a number one.
Yes.
And that is a reality which is there. But our expectations out of our children, coaches' expectations out of our kids, is that everybody needs to be a champion. And I think when you actually have such unrealistic expectations out of the entire group, then you have a problem. Education is okay because you can go back and say, I'm top 100 in IIT, fantastic, you're celebrated. Top 1000 in IIT, also celebrated. You get a rank in NEET, you're celebrated. But you're number 2 in the country, you're asked, why didn't you win? So that is a problem which we need to address. Today, there are many champions here. Arun is a champion, Arundhati is a champion, Akshay sitting there is a champion, Rasika was there, she was a champion. Many champions whom I would in my world, for me, somebody like a H.S. Pranoy is champion par excellence. But then, in his own eyes, he's not seeing himself as the biggest champion because he sees the void which is there. I am showing you what you have won, and you're telling me what you don't have, which is not won. I think that is sad for sport. I think for me, the real essence of sport is when we start celebrating the effort. I think Madam who was here was talking about the process, right? The process is king. How do we celebrate the process? When a kid goes out there and gives his heart out and plays well, do we treat him as a champion when he comes back, or the guy who's actually indisciplined and goes on the podium, are we celebrating him? I think this is a big question mark we would have. And we need to be realistic about things. Improvement is important. Improvement is what we should aspire for. Being unrealistic about the goals is also what we should. Because if a young Gopi thought that I won't be a national champion, he wouldn't have been a national champion. But the kid has to think that this is my only goal and I will achieve it. But the parent and the teacher should be okay if they fail. And if they fall, we have to provide the safety net around it. So I think this dilemma needs to be addressed and this needs to be understood. And for me, this is very critical.
Yes, actually. One more point, like aspect I would like to add in here, like if you can just guide in that regard also. We spoke about failure, but nowadays we have seen that success also goes in the mind of the student, and sometimes with the parents also that particular thing makes some kind of misunderstanding with them. I even saw when players are losing their tournament, they literally thrash the racket on the floor then and there on the court itself. So, how we can say that success and the personality, or the success and the emotions, or the humanity is to be balanced? Like, you only can give a correct path on that particular thing. How a success can also be handled. Failure, okay. But handling a success is also important.
I think be very important for all of us to take a step back and focus on the process and regard success as okay and failure as also okay. We shouldn't get out of board celebrating the victory so much that if you win, you're everything, and if you lose, you're nothing. That cannot be the attitude of a matured sporting nation. You win, it's okay. You lose also, it's okay. But then did you fulfill your potential is the big question mark which I am having. And I do believe that Indian champions have not still fulfilled their potential. If you have the ability to be the world number one for 5 years or 10 years, and if you won once, then I think you're a failure. You might be the best, but you are a failure because you've not fulfilled your potential. If somebody has the ability to run 10 seconds and if he runs 10.5, then that's a failure. But if you have the ability to run 12 seconds and if you've done 12 seconds, that's success. So how do we really calibrate and celebrate this is very critical. And teachers also, it's a supremely important job. I think we have some great academicians. I come to an academic school and I start talking about education, I feel very bad because I'm not qualified. But in reality, I find this is a big question mark in education as well. All of us go to a class, and I experienced this, that's why I say this. We go to a class, ninth class Gopi, young kid, 14-year-old, goes to class, having missed the last few classes because I was playing a tournament. The teacher is teaching the 5 people who are 95% in class. The rest of the 45 of them, the subject is flying over their head. They have no clue what is happening. The tare zami pe ho raha hai. We have no clue what the hell is happening. And I'm just hoping that the teacher doesn't ask me a question. That's all I pray about. This is reality. This is how a sports class goes. You go flip it on the sporting side, on the badminton court. Every coach wants to coach the 5 kids who are going to win the state championship. Nobody bothers about the rest of the 45 people in the class. This is a reality. Whatever we might say on the outside, this is a reality. But if all the 50 kids are my own kids, what would I do? Will I let this be? Will I try to find an answer for this? A parent wants an answer for this because it's their kid. The teacher is finding the top 5 and he's teaching them to become 100 so he can get a medal. And this is unfortunately the education system. This is also being followed in the sporting system. Somewhere down the line, we need to break this down to a more practical thing where the guy who's like me, who has 20% marks, think of an achievable goal of 25. The guy who's 40 thinks of 45, and the guy who's 90 thinks of 95, and the guy who's 95 thinks of 100. And the teacher is only doing that bit, because when I move from 25 to 35, I'll move from 35 to 50 or 70 or 100. But from 25 to 100, I don't see a hope. The teacher also doesn't see a hope. And this reality or this flip in the education system is something which we need to address. And this is something which we have not done. For years, we've had ratification as the only methodology. Today they say, no, it's very wrong. Cambridge says you write cursive writing and it causes rheumatoid arthritis when you're older because the hands are not right. Whatever we've been thinking as clear 100% right principles are being questioned and said wrong. So maybe we are wrong in our entire approach to education as well. After 20 years of going into education, a kid comes out from college, he has no clue of what the hell he wants to do in life. What do you want? Good job. What is a good job? Good paying job. What do you want? More than, and I remember my friend Pradeep having told this to me in 2001. He said, Gopi, decide what you want. And he made me write on a sheet, a long list. He said, whatever you want, you write. And I wrote out a big house, bungalow, wife, kids, blah, 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 lake laws. I thought I will have an endless list. No, but half the page and it was done. Big car, 4 cars, 5 cars, whatever I wrote, BMWs and Mercs, everything changed. But then at the end of it, he said only one thing. He said, remember this, if you want a bed which is bigger than what you are, that is luxury. If you want a bed which is much bigger than what you are, that's super luxury. There's no problem in wanting any of it. But if you want a bed which is bigger than your neighbor's bed, then you have a problem. You'll never be happy in life. And that's a message which has stayed with me for life. I think it's very important that kids understand what they want. It cannot be dependent on what the neighbor wants. And I think that's something which kids after 20 years of education don't have a clue about. What do you want? Don't know. And our whole education system is work less, pay more. That's a good job. Give less, take more. That is profit. And that's what MBAs and businesses are doing. So I think unless we address these fundamental flaws in the system, unless we stop celebrating champions just because they won, but they've been role models for ourselves. I think we won't be doing justice to who we are. So I think we have a lot of challenges what we have. Every time I tell a kid at the academy that you're not good enough, it just burns my heart. I hate it. But I'm not an MBA college or an IIT college. Every 4 years a new kid comes in. I have to remove all my students at some point of time, because to add new students in, I have to remove my students. And it hurts me when I do it, but it's a bad job to have. So if I had some job which I hate about mine, it is that only thing.
So,
Yeah.
one last question is family discussion. You said that wish list and all. So, maybe you wrote in wish list, good wife, compatible wife. So, you and Lakshmi ji have actually built more than a home, and now your daughter is also into sport. So, we can say that you are actually building a legacy. So, how has your personal journey as a partner and father shaped your philosophy as a mentor?
I think it's very important. I remember this CBSE was doing an exam. They said, we'll do a fitness test. And in their mind, they said all kids should do push ups. And I think it's a very fair ask, right? Everybody should do push ups and do running and push ups, and we'll mark all those marks. And I was involved with young kids. In my mind, the visual images of a 10-year-old slightly obese kid in front of a class of 40 kids trying to do a push up and failing. What is the impact it will have on her life? What trauma will she go through for the rest of her life? I think that became a point which I started to reflect, because whether it's Arundhati here, who was a 15-year-old, came to me, or much younger players, say a Saina or a Sindhu with 13 or 9, or my own daughter, I would see their progress and I would actually ask this question: will my kid, if she's subject to it, what is the trauma it will have on her life? I think that sense, and I was lucky that all my children, whether it's Saina or Sindhu or Arundhati or Arun or Satvik Chirag, or all of them, in some sense, I look at them as my own children. And then when they lose, the pain which goes through it, and they win, the celebration which happens, and when they go astray, the pain the mistakes you've done, and the mistakes the system has done, I think start to bother you a lot. So I think it's been a journey. I would say, I would at the end of the day say God's grace, bow my head and say, boss, jo bhi tune kiya hai, and I'm happy with whatever I have. But I wish India as a country has so much more potential. If we are not head and shoulders above the rest of the world, then we should be cursing ourselves for not building a system which actually does it. Unfortunately, we've only scratched the tip of the iceberg which we are capable of. But yes, we could finish my lifetime without going any further. But what we have done in badminton is, 1994, when India didn't qualify for the Commonwealth Games, and Indian government didn't send a team for Commonwealth Games, to 30 years later when we won the Thomas Cup. I think that is the story available for us to see and learn from across sport. If we can do it in badminton, we should repeatedly do it. If we can do it in badminton, maybe many other sports we can do it. So I think there is a lot possible, but everybody has to work together. And that may happen. Very possible that might not happen. So we only will be left behind that we could have done it and we haven't done it. So this is how I would just leave it. I try to do it in some bits. God's grace, whatever I've dreamt or whatever I've thought, my life is far better than that, and I've achieved much more. So I hope we continue to do that.
So we now shift gears into a quick rapid fire round, and one word, one sentence. So just 5-6 questions. One player who challenged you mentally, not just physically.
I'd say Peter Gate.
Match to replay in your mind, win or lose.
I hardly do it. I'm somebody who believes in not recycling things.
Okay. What is difficult, meditation or match practice?
Meditation.
In case if you wish to give a book to an athlete, which will you think to give?
Which book?
Which book?
See, my life has changed a lot thanks to a lot of books which I've read. For me, I think the autobiography of a yogi was one of the first books I liked, and that has left a big mark on my life.
One value your academy will never compromise on.
There are a lot of things which, as a coach for me, I think indiscipline would be one.
Sindhu, Saina, Chirag, who argued a lot?
There'll be a 9-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid who will be the most, because none of them actually would ask me more than a question. And that's the challenge which you have, right? So as a generation, I think Shrikant or Pranoy or nobody has actually said any word back to me or asked me also a question. बोला है चुपचाप करेंगे. But then you have a 9-year-old उसको बोलो 2 राउंड भाग. वो बोल रहे हैं सर मैं बैडमिंटन खेलने आया हूँ मुझे भागना क्यों है? I think it's a very different world we are living in.
Finally, your definition, just one line for a true champion.
Somebody who's achieved his total potential, given another chance, another life, and you had to start off from scratch again, you couldn't have done better than in the effort part.
We'll just quickly cater 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Questions should be only question, not personal introduction, and also आप वही सवाल पूछें जो during session cover नहीं हुआ है. So, quick question, please.
Good evening. What is more difficult, as a player or as a coach?
So, coach,
I am also coaching that.
Excuse me. Hi sir. I have a question about sports depression. Most of the parents and coaches don't put light on the sport depression and a player going through it. So, have you ever been through something which you saw कि नहीं इस player को ज़रूरत है? And what will you suggest for parents and other coaches?
I think unrealistic expectations are one we have to be clear about. The second thing is don't recycle trauma and don't blame anybody. I think these are important things. If your expectations are low and realistic, it's a very important factor. I think many of the times we have unrealistic expectations, and that's something which we should be. And I think जो भी हो रहा है भगवान दे रहा है ऐसा करके एटीट्यूड करने से ठीक है. At the after you do it, at the time of doing, see one thing I always told my students is लोग जाके मैच में प्रेयर करते हैं. मैच में भगवान 1 पॉइंट दे दे 1 पॉइंट दे दे करके भीख मांग रहे हैं भगवान से. So I said, when you're praying, you pray as though God is everything and He is the one who gives you. When you're playing, trust that you are everything. There's no God there. Your effort is what is going to give you the result. And when you finish the match, also believe that whatever has happened for your good. I think that is the attitude you should have. When you work, work as though you are responsible. When you pray, pray as though God is the one who's giving it. And when you finish it, also you believe that whatever has happened for my good. And that is the attitude which will actually stop you from getting into these things along with over expectations. And be realistic about what is your potential and what you can do.
Thank you so much.
Connect this young athlete with the doping kind of things, which is increasing day by day. So I would like to have an answer from your end. How will you connect this doping with the young athletes?
I think it's really, again, unrealistic expectations, wanting to cheat to get ahead, and wanting to do these things for jobs and stuff. So I think it's something which should be really avoided, and fairness is important. And even if somebody else is doing it, whether it's age doping or whether it's substance doping or any other kind of enhancement kind of things like draw doping or association push or something like that to help you. I think they're very short-term things which are not going to help. Eventually, your performance should talk, and it has to talk so loudly that people will have to notice who you are, and you have to trust yourself to get to that level, and any other method is not going to help. Yeah.
Last question.
So,
Sir, there are many players who have reached the peak, but after the peak, the plateau has come or there is the downfall, particularly Indian players. So what could be the reasons?
I think the way our system work needs to be more mature, and process and drive has to be more from an athlete's perspective as well, and understanding. So it's a deeper issue which has a lot of other connotations, and I don't think I'll have all the answers to share here. But I think over celebration and overly celebrating the mediocre result is one of the reasons. I think we just have to wait back and imagine somebody like a Lee Chong Wei, right? He had 12 back-to-back Malaysian Opens he had won. For 12 years, 11 years he won, 12th year he lost in the final. What kind of dominance is that? And that is what means, and the guy is simple in the sense, I go on court, I will win. Year after year after year, 12 long years. And that for me is what performance is. Consistency over such long periods after being the king. I think these are some of those rare examples we have. So people who go after performance, not just medals, I think are the ones whom we should celebrate. And sometimes when we don't do that, then we get these peaks and plateaus and downfalls and stuff.
So actually we really do not have much time, and if we keep asking questions, it will go on, because I can see now around 8, 7, there are more. So I would request Gopi sir to please accept our invitation to be a part of Orange City Literature Festival in the month of November. It is on 21st, 22nd and 23rd of November. So you can block either day for us. So if he accepts it, we'll proceed it. And as
I'll take 2 more questions and close it here.
No, we would wait for the November then. We would really sorry for that, because taking one question will again, dishearten the other person. I would request you all to please read the book Shuttler's Flick, and also there is a biography of Sir Pullela Gopichand, which is of Suresh Sharma. So I would request you all to please grab these two books. Maximum questions will be answered then and there itself. Today he has to rush, so it's like we have to close this session here today, and we'll chase him again for the November, and we'll bother three of you sitting here. So we'll again and again say Mangesh sir will be there, so we'll request him again, and I'll just eat up the all chain of Raisoni sir to get him here. So for sure, you will get all the answers. Please go through the books, and huge thank you, sir. This is like a blessing for us to start the literature festival, because no one can discuss more about the literature there. So it's a humble request. Think over our invitation. We'll follow up. Thank you so much.